Hi guys, Jason here, Jason's Creative Adventures, and in this video I'm going to duplicate a duct tape journal that I made. We're going to make it different. This one I made out of camo duct tape, and it has a tassel, has a way of tying it up if you wrap this around. It's got a place here that you can put this in and tie it and go back around, so you can tie this up however you want. The other thing that I did with this journal that I haven't done with any other journal is, for one, it's got a lot of pages, but I used scotch tape. I used scotch tape to put a lot of scotch tape to get all the pages together. The problem is they're not connected very well. This is the only flaw in this journal. This part, I offset the pages when I folded them, and instead of putting them the folded edge in, I put the longer edge to the side here, and then I was able to make, so I got fold out pages so I can do lots of interesting things, as you see I have done here. So all the pages fold out. I've done all kinds of drawings and stuff, and that kind of gives you an unexpected amount of extra space in your journals, so you can do all kinds of interesting things. And I even color coded. I went along the edges and color coded the pages. They're not in here the most even, if you can kind of see that they're not exactly even all the way through, but you can kind of see the scotch tape there and the scotch tape there. So I'm going to try to do something different than scotch tape because I was a pain in the butt, and I'm going to try to figure out a different way of binding all the pages together that might be faster. Maybe use some glue or something, and then that way they'll affix to each other better. And before I fold all the pages in, I'm just going to leave them flat, and I'm going to stick them into the thing. I'm kind of going to do the same style of journal where I have the tassel and the wraparound deal, and still probably have this. I might add a pencil holder type thing on to this one. I haven't quite figured out all the details yet, but I usually design as I go. Those of you that watch me will figure that out, that I do a lot of my design on the go. I just have a basic idea of what I want to accomplish at the end of a video or end of a project, and as long as I achieve what I'm going for at the end, how I get there isn't so important as the end result. So I've learned to embrace that, because I've had to really embrace not being able to always do things the way I want, and having to make sudden changes and switch gears in order to make a project come through. So you've got to be flexible when you're doing artistic stuff, because things rarely go the way you expect them to, and you got to be ready to improvise. You got to be a master improviser when you become a maker, because rarely even the best made plans go south. So always be prepared to switch gears And don't get so locked into having to do stuff any particular way. Figure out what the end product, end result that you want to do, and then don't make a big deal about everything that you do to get there. That is some of the best advice I could give anybody who is trying to make any projects. Alright, so let's get on with it. Alright guys, so I have selected this parchment copper for a journal. Self-Worth is one particular company. You can get some different types of fancier papers if you want to look them up. You can maybe order online and have it delivered, or go to any of your office supply stores, or just about anywhere that sells different types of paper, Hobby Lobby, whatever. The paper that you use is up to you, what duct tape style that you use. I'm going to use this tie-dye looking blue and some white duct tape. I've got some thin cardboard. It is from my Fanta 12 pack. I'm going to use that as a base. So first, you always start with a paper when you do a book. At least that's the way I do it. So we're going to get some glue out, and we're going to glue all these pages together one by one, and it's going to be a tedious process. I'm going to show you a couple, and then I'm going to do all of them off camera, the rest of them off camera, and then I'll come back and show you the next step. Alright, we're going to try to use this sparingly. Alright, this is going to be an interesting trick. Effort to not, it is contact cement. You're supposed to put it on there and let it wait. You could use probably easier. We're going to use just a bead of Gorilla Glue, because I think that'll go a little bit easier. And okay guys, I switched over to the Chesty GoPro so you guys could see what I was doing a little better. Alright, do a bead. Okay, and pretty much do them all this way. Trying to make sure you get them aligned as good as you can. And do them all this way. I'm going to go through and do this, and then I'll get back to you. I'm going to do the rest of these off camera. This is exactly what I'm going to do to all these pages. When I get done with that, I will turn the camera back on and we'll go to the next step. Alright guys. Alright guys, I got all the glue, just putting a bead down. Now I'm taking this thin piece of wood. I'm trying to squeeze out as much of this Gorilla Glue out and get it out. because this Gorilla Glue has a tendency of foaming up and making an entire mess. And so I'm trying to keep this in the perfect square, and then you're going to have to let this sit and dry for a while. And I'm going to make sure this isn't going to glue to the table. Set it off to the side here. It's all that glue is going to foam up. Because I've used it before and it likes to foam up and then dry white. Last time I used it was a disaster. But I'm using it slightly different. So let's hope this will work. I think the nature of making the duct tape on it is going to make this an alright way to go. Plus, this is going to get real thick. This part of it is going to thicken up. So when I go to fold all these pages, I'm going to fold them offset to each other all the way through, and then we're going to get to the faster paced part of this where I'm going to make the wrap just like this one. I'll make it I'll make all the duct tape parts using the cardboard as a base. So we're going to have to leave this for a few hours. Make sure I put the cap back on this duct tape, or this Gorilla Glue, I mean. Throw this away. And yeah, so we'll get back to it when we're ready for the next part. Alright guys, let's get my soda open. Okay. Just like what we did for this, we'll start at this end and work our way to that end. So the thing that we have alleviated is this poofiness in the middle. We're going to be able to have these style of fold out pages like I did in this journal, but I won't have this puffy in the middle where it's not secured in the center through all the pages. So, alright, set that aside. Set that aside for now. What we need to do before we get too far ahead of ourselves is fold all these pages. And this is basically I'm going to do with every page. Okay, I'm going to do that with every page, go through. Tricky part is doing the ones, once you start the first one is easy. It's keeping Let's see how well I do. Okay, that one's not folded in as much. So we need to fold it in. More. Oops, still need to go a little more. Once you get through these first couple of pages, getting them folded in, yep. Just line it up. Boo. And there you go, and just do that for everything. That's all I'm gonna do, so I'm gonna do the rest off camera. Alright guys, there it is. I could add a pocket to it if I wanted to. I could add a place to keep a pin on there if I want to. I do need to go back through and I made pretty much the same way. I made a little bit bigger tassel on this one because this one's always been a little short, so I need to make the tassel, this thing that you tie it up with, a little longer on that one, which is easy, and I got the duct tape over there. I just got to go grab a little bit of duct tape and put it on there. So I'm gonna undo this. And then I'm just gonna take a piece of duct tape and just go right across. Just like that. Fold out pages.